thank you so much for joining me for the League of Goddesses Spotlight interview. I am so excited to introduce you to the ladies of the League so that they can get to know you, because you are an amazing friend and also business owner, of course, too. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a delight to hang out with you.
Oh, I just love you. Okay, so let me kind of tell you real quickly how this goes. The first few questions are super easy, super fun, and I will just spitball them to you real quick. And then as we progress, they'll become a little bit more deep, and I'm really curious about some of your answers. So my first question is, do you have a nickname?
I have had nicknames over my life, but I would say the one that my very, very close friends use, they just call me my last name, which is Kniss, like, hey, Kniss. But in terms of other nicknames, not really.
I love it. Okay, so now when I text you, I'm just going to call you Kniss.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, when is your birthday?
My birthday is October 2nd, so I'm a Libra.
Nice. And then your favorite color?
Favorite color is cobalt blue, which you can't really tell, it's a little dark, but might be wearing right now.
That is one of my favorite colors on you. And you do wear it a lot. And it makes sense that it's your favorite color. I feel like that color was so hot last year and I will not give it up. I'm like, no, this is a good one.
If you could have let me know that, then I would have done more shopping last year to fill my closet with this, because usually I can't find it.
Well, I let you down. Next time it comes, like, you know how it is. It's always a cycle.
Let me know.
I will let you know. Deal. Okay. Are you a coffee girl or a tea girl?
You know, I like both. So it's a little bit of a toss-up. I would say if I had to choose only one, I would definitely pick coffee. But I love me some tea. I spent a lot of time in East Africa. So it's like chai, masala.
Yes, chai. I love it. Okay. You know what? Have you ever heard of, it's called a dirty chai?
I was hosting an event yesterday and one of the women didn't know what a dirty chai was. And I was like, you are missing out, woman. So yeah, we all had dirty chais yesterday.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't know what they were until last weekend. And I was like, oh my God, how have these not been in my life for 34 years? That's sad.
Y'all need to get out more.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I got to. Anyway, they are phenomenal and I definitely recommend them. Okay. Let's move on. So this one, I already know your answer, but if you could only pick one, what would it be? Book, podcast, or blog?
What if I was just like, actually blog? Would your mind explode?
Like, no!
I would pick books, obviously.
Of course. So then tell me, what is your favorite book of all time?
I love this question so much because if this was more than a month ago, I would have said, Alicia, that's an impossible question. I can't even possibly answer that because there are so many good ones. However, I just read last month what I believe to be my favorite book of all time, and I have it right here.
Yay! I'm like, this must be one good freaking book.
It's literally on my desk. It's called Circe. It is amazing. It's a novel. Uh-huh. It is based on the Greek mythological character of Circe. She is known to be the witch goddess, and it's freaking brilliant. It's written well. The story is fantastic, and just a personal connection to me. I so resonated with her character. I love it.
Dude, that is phenomenal because I totally pegged you for telling me you don't know and you couldn't pick that. So that makes me super happy. I'm like, oh, now I'm going to have to get that book too.
You should definitely, you should listen to this book because the narrator is Perdita Weeks. She's this British actress. She does it flawlessly. It's brilliant.
Okay. I normally am, you know me, I'm a reader. I like to actually read and mark, but this sounds very entertaining. And so there might not be a lot of marking needed. So what do you think?
There may be marking. I mean, I certainly have my marks. I literally have, do you want to hear the best line in this whole book?
Yes.
Okay. Cause I have it marked and I listened to it. I actually listened to it 1.5 times because it's this good. So she's talking about this man whom she had this love affair with. And he has now died because he was very sad. He passed away. And she says, but in a solitary life, there are rare moments when another soul dips near yours, as stars once a year brush the earth. Such a constellation was he to me.
Mm,
Gorgeous.
that was gorgeous. It gave me goosebumps. Not gonna lie. Oh. Okay, and now I definitely want to read that one. And I feel like my next question, you're gonna be like, I just told you. But what is your favorite book at the moment? Because I know sometimes people have like, hey, this is my all-time, and then this is my at the moment. But it sounds like
I'm going to say that's both.
yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, man, she can't love it that much, knowing how much of an avid reader you are. If you say it's your favorite book, I'm like, well, definitely your favorite of all time and this time right now.
Yes, it is. It is currently still in my brain. I couldn't even move on to my next book. After I finished that one, I'm like, I was sitting with it and processing it, swooning over it. It was amazing.
Oh, do you have the desire to meet the author once you like, no, really?
Not at all.
Tell me why. Is there a reason?
You know me, I don't like people that much.
Like, well, besides that one. Okay, because sometimes when I read something really, really good, I just want to go connect. Like, who is this person that this came out of their brains? You know, I'm just like, I don't know.
Oh, you know what's so interesting about this? See, this is what I love in that you and I are so different in so many different ways. You are like, oh, I want to connect to that person. I utilize their writing to connect with me, like internalize it. So I can like go in and explore that in this inner landscape that I have. I have no inclination to reach out to that person in real life. I love it.
It's so different. And it's not always, it's only when they impact my like internal landscape, if you will. Only if it hits home to where I see great growth from it, where I'm just like, whoa, like the world less stupid. Oh my God, would love to meet him. And I know that that's very possible, but yeah, it's those ones where I'm just like, I just want to know this human and like feel their vibrations. I don't know, because you know how you feel people when you're around them?
Yeah,
and you would be awesome.
You would definitely love in real life Keith Cunningham because he's funny. He is, I mean, that whole book, Road Less Stupid, you will love meeting him.
Oh, someday. Okay, so my next question is, can you tell us about your business?
Of course I can. I love that. So my business is called Lucra, and the main focus is helping people start and grow businesses, but not in the necessarily traditional way of like, let's talk about marketing and sales and structure. I do this much of that, but the vast majority of the business is on doing the inner work. So looking at things like confidence and courage and money mindset, healing the relationship with money that we all have, or that not all of us, but I personally have had challenges with over the course of my life, helping people do that and really looking at expanding into fulfilling your purpose so that it's very purpose-based. It's not like we're just going to go sell stuff on Amazon for making money, but it's fulfilling the reason that you are here, expanding into that potentiality, and then rocking your business outside.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And I feel like no matter where you are on your entrepreneurial journey, having another set of eyes just take a look and be like, hey man, have you seen this? And especially because you've been doing it so long and you have such a wide array of knowledge to pull from, anytime that you've given me insight, it's just been mind-blowing. What is your bliss? So a lot of people try to tie that into what they do every day, and I'm curious if it works that way for you.
It does work that way for me, but I would say there's a higher level of bliss in my life, and that is ultimate independence and freedom. So the highest level of my bliss is probably when I'm out hiking by myself. That to me is just expansive. I feel very activated, very alive in those conditions. I would say work is one level down from that because while I love it and I'm very passionate about it, there's still a lot of interdependence, of course, with clients or whomever. So pure bliss is like I'm out in the wilderness solo.
I feel some extreme similarities to you there because helping people and working, it's a huge passion for me, but it's that time away alone in nature where you can just be in awe of almost everything you see. You're just like, holy cow, this is beautiful. And the more present you are, the more things are just gorgeous is how it appears for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I did, by the way, do a 15 miles or 15 miles worth of hiking over the weekend. And Mindie, it was phenomenal.
Nice.
I've never hiked that much in a weekend.
Really?
Yeah, no, because it's normally like a day. And so I went Saturday and Sunday, and it was so fun.
Love it.
Yeah, me too. We need a hiking trip. I'm like, I keep telling you this. I'm just prepping you. I'm like giving you prep. And then it's like, let's go. Okay. So now tell me, why did you join the League of Goddesses?
Well, I joined the League of Goddesses because of you. I totally admire and respect what you've got going on. I think you have so much to bring to the just a community of women, because you have a real passion for that. And you said, hey, here's what I'm up to. Are you interested? I said, I'm all in 100%.
And you have been such a huge support, and I appreciate you for that. And just like, you're always willing to offer the hard stuff too, which is what I love most about you. You won't sugarcoat it. And people that are, trying to grow and move and want to give, they don't need sugarcoating. It's like, no, I want the truth. So that's what I love about you. And you're very kind about it, but honest. So thank you. I think you definitely make the league a better place. So
thank you. I like that you sense it as kind, because it doesn't always feel that way.
Well, for me it is, because you know why? The people that love me most are the ones that help me grow. And I know that. Like, those are the ones that care the most, because they're willing to put aside their uncomfortable feelings of having to have that conversation with you. And then also their desire, because lots of times people lose friendships over that, because they're just like, well, that hurt my feelings and I don't want to be their friend anymore. So you're putting that aside too, of, you know what, hey, I'm willing to give up our friendship to help you grow. So to me, it's one of the most kind and beneficial things someone can do for you.
Yeah. You know what I call that? Being a stand for someone's greatness.
Ooh.
The people that are closest to me, personal relationships, my inner circle, I am 100% going to be a stand for their greatness above and beyond how they feel about me, or if we're friends or whatever. So yeah, that's what I call that.
That's beautiful. I never thought about it that way, but that is exactly what I'm explaining to you. Like, oh, I love it. A stand for greatness, or for their greatness. Yeah.
For their greatness. Yeah.
For their greatness. Love it. Well, thank you for doing that for me, Mindie. And I know you've done it for many of the women in the league, because you've helped many of them. So thank you. Okay, let's go on to our next question. What do you hope to attain from this community of badass women?
What I hope to obtain is more joy collectively. I think that people get really into the productivity and the efficiency and all of that. And I want to not only be a reminder, but receive reminders of like, yo, this can be fun too. Like, let's have a good time. Let's laugh. Let's relax. Let's take a break, chill. So it is, I'm very conscious of putting that out there. And that's also what I like to get back.
That is a really good one, and such a good reminder for me, because I'm an efficiency. It's like, oh, it's efficiency. And then it's like, you got to have some fun.
I do know that. And I will always stand for your greatness in relaxation.
Thank you. I value that so much. Okay. So what is it that you hope, and you kind of answered this question for me, but to contribute to the league, what if you could give and it would bring you the most joy, would it be?
Yeah, just really believing in people. Sometimes we lack faith in ourselves or don't have the confidence in ourselves. And when someone else can say, what are you talking about? You got this. Look at all this experience you have, or look at all this expertise you have, or, oh, have you thought about this other thing that you could bring in? And so really just being mirrors for each other. I think that's the ultimate.
Oh, I like that, being a mirror. That's beautiful. Who is important in your life, Mindie?
So many people. That's an interesting question, because I would say the most important people now in my life, because as you know, my husband passed away last year. I mean, really, he is still probably the most important, even though he's not physically present anymore. But what has developed without having him, that level of friendship, that level of partnership, is my closest inner circle of friends. These people are ride and die, like whatever, anytime, all the time, or no time. And it's so perfect. The level of just friendship that I've created and then developed over the last year and a half is extraordinary.
How does it feel? This is not one of the questions that I would normally ask, but that was such a unique answer to me. How does it feel different to you than before when Sean was here and you might not have needed so much connection? What does that feel like?
Yeah. And, it's funny how you say that too, because I very much feel like I don't need a lot of connection, just period, before or now. I am very much a solo type of person. And the difference is that Sean was the opposite of that. Sean was very social, was the social butterfly, was in all the groups, had lots of big groups of friends. And then I was able to connect kind of through him to these various people, which I necessarily wouldn't have sought out on my own. I'm not going to go to all the things and do everything. But what I've looked at now is, no, these are people that weren't just there like for us collectively or for Sean, but very much like, no, Mindie, like we see you and want to be their support, and also vice versa. It's not like, oh, well, you're just a friend of Sean's. Oh, no, you're a friend of mine. So it has transformed quite a bit, and really just digging into that desire that I have to not have 1,000 people in that inner circle, but have very, very few, and just the level of depth and commitment to those people is amazing.
I like it. So quality over quantity.
Totally. Any day.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of it. Nice. Okay. So can you tell me, this question's intriguing because you can take it two ways. What dream have you made come true? It could either be a dream of your own or a dream that you made come true for someone else.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is, for the majority of my young life, I always wanted to go to Africa. I had this great passion for East Africa, Kenya specifically. That was my dream. That was my passion. It took a long time to fulfill that because there were multiple trips that I was like, oh, I'm going to go. Cool. And then the trip would get canceled, or, oh, I have this opportunity, but I can't afford it, or whatever the situation was. It took until I was well into my 20s after graduating college that I finally went to Kenya and fulfilled that dream. It was awesome.
That's amazing. Like, I'm sorry that I interrupted your story, because to me, that is one of your like super awesome things. And I've heard so many little stories here and there about that trip. So I just know it was phenomenal. And thank you for your grace. You kicked right back into it like a pro. You're like, because I am. Okay, so my next question is, what does your heart most desire at this time?
I love that question. My heart most desires at this time, I mean, I think it's at all times, just freedom. Freedom to love, freedom to express, freedom of creativity, freedom of time, money, energy, location, all the things. Freedom is my highest value. And I'm very much committed to developing it even more and more and more in my life.
That is a very unique answer that I feel very connected to. So when you say that you're wanting to develop that and you will continue that process, what does that look like for you? And you're like, okay, this is my highest value and now I want to develop it.
Yeah, I seek out any aspect that has resistance and a holding back or a separating away from, because anything that I'm saying, oh, well, it's not about that. For instance, I was just coaching somebody earlier today, and I noticed what they were doing is all this excitement about their business. But then when I asked them a different kind of question about money, they were like, well, it's not about that. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, really? Let's look at that holding back from or separating from, because what do you think helps develop freedom in a really powerful way? Money, having cash flow, having financial freedom. So and I do that for myself. That's why I can do it for clients, because I do the work first on me and always say, okay, where am I experiencing resistance? Is it creative? Is it financial? Is it time? Is it what? And then how can I overcome that, walk through the fear, like run toward the fear? And then we find that the fear usually doesn't even exist, because it's just some ghost story that we made up for ourselves. So we pursue it. We find out it's an illusion anyway. And oh, by the way, then we got more freedom.
Mm. So you look for the resistance, anything that you're like, oh no, it's not that, it's not this, and then you pursue it.
I seek it out like a freaking homing beacon. Like I'm like, where is it? What else? Because we always have it. And it's just showing up in different ways sometimes throughout life. So I want to seek it out and then handle it.
Nice. I always use as an analogy for that one, a dentist trying to get out the cavity. It's like, because it's painful and it's annoying and it's like, oh, but you have to do it. And if you won't be willing to go deep enough and suffer through that, minor pain, then it's just going to keep eating away at you. And you'll never get through it. I love it. Okay. So now tell me, if you were not you and you were describing you to someone else, how would you describe Mindie?
This is such a hilarious question. I would say she is focused on others being the best that they can be, but still 100% recognizing that she needs to do that too. Like it is an internal process as well as then a creative expression in her business that is a stand for greatness on all sides, self and other.
Yes, very much you. I agree with that. I love your answer. Okay, not that you asked me, but I do. I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally right. I've seen her do it. You're like, yes, okay, Alicia. Now, this question is really unique, and sometimes it takes people a minute to really think about it. So take all the time you need. But the question is, what vision do you have for the future of humanity?
Oh, yeah, this is like my
thing.
Future of humanity. My vision is that we can celebrate our uniqueness and our individuality. In our society today, there is so much divisive, like, you're this and I'm this, and that's so different. And I'm like, look, while that may be true that, you think this way or I think this way, the vast majority is quite similar. And if we can connect at that level on what is similar, then it becomes creative expression of all the little differences and uniquenesses and, aspects of us that are different. Well, that's the stuff that can be celebrated. So that would be my vision, is to be able to connect at a level of humanity, which really we are mostly the same on, and then to allow for the various expressions or distinctions or differences, and that would actually be celebrated as opposed to like, let's tear people apart.
It would be a much more peaceful, loving world for sure if we could accomplish that.
Exactly. And not only that, it would be more innovative, because if we are allowed to be different, be unique, celebrate those things, well, that's how innovation happens, right? Like that.
People, like, they would feel valued. And so their creativity would amp up because they felt safe and valued and loved. And
that's what I'm talking about.
I like how you put it. That sounds lovely. So this is a good question then for your answer. How does that vision affect your decision-making processes?
Yeah, it does all the time, because I know that to make any impact outside in the world, where it starts is within each one of us. There's a Native American proverb that says, when you heal yourself, you heal the world. And I always go back to that. Okay, if that's what I want to see out there, how am I living it, or maybe not living it internally right this second? Because that's the only one that I can control. The rest, that's their path, their business, their process. So I look internally and say, how am I doing this or not? How can I do this more? And then I know that translates like ripples in a wave or ripples in a pond that just spread out, and that impacts the greater whole.
And do you attack that with like the same ravenous as we talked about before? You just start honing in on it and like, okay, here's what I need to do.
I don't attack anything.
No, you're peaceful. That's me. Like, oh, you're peaceful. You get after it.
The word that I would use instead is I would embrace it. Like mama bear energy. So yes, it's fierce, and yes, it's powerful, and yes, it's strong, but it's not an attack per se. It's like a safety, like a holding.
That makes so much more sense, because in the realm of what you described, that would be that same, like if you were mirroring it and what you were wanting to attain in the world, you would have to go at it from the same manner. So that makes sense. Okay, how have you implemented actions into your business to help bring this vision into fruition?
Well, anything I'm doing for myself, I bring it to my clients. If it's a realization that I've had or a new reality that I've created for myself, I automatically say, okay, how can I implement that into a program, into a coaching, into a course, whatever it may be, so that I can translate it? Because, by the way, that also helps me grow it, build it, become more strong in it. As soon as I can teach it, it's more ingrained in me. So I always will turn it to the outside. It starts internally. I'm a very internal person. Then I translate that to outside and know that if people are then getting results, that's working. If they're not, okay, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what am I not translating this properly? Like what's going on? So I do it all the time.
I love that you're actually looking for their result. So how do you know, and this is not on the normal questions, but how do you know if when you aren't seeing a result, it's the way that you're translating it or maybe their lack of action?
Well, I always am going to bring it back to my responsibility and what I can control. So if they're just not implementing the stuff, they probably shouldn't be working with me. Like I would ask them I would maybe fire them as a client because I want people who are going to be doing the things. But if they're doing the things and then they're still not getting it, well, then that's automatically to go back and say, okay, what is it? Is it actually the technique that's wrong? Is it the tactic that's wrong? Or I'm just translating it in a way that maybe is over their heads or, because I get all into the detail and then I'm like, and they're sometimes like, okay, bring it down, like what's processing? And so being able to, that has been, I would say my greatest work is being able to take really intense, whether it's spiritual, philosophical ideas and concepts and bringing them into real-time, present day, actionable things that are easy and step by step. So then I know that if they're getting stuck or they're getting frustrated or they're just not having that result, I can go back and like reassess my translation process.
Yeah, that I think is phenomenal. And meeting people where they are. Because if you have this wealth of knowledge, but you can't figure out how to meet them where they are, then it's like it's sitting right there, but you're missing the key. And
yeah, it's like I'm speaking Chinese to them and they're like, Mindie, I don't understand Chinese. Like you need to bring it into Swahili or something else.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been on both sides of that key. It's so frustrating when you're on the side and you're not understanding. It's like, man, I know there's more to this. And then I always wonder, like, even though I think I got that concept, I wonder how much I actually missed, because it's all up to interpretation and it's how you apply the information. So super cool. Okay. So this question, I'm really, really curious. If you could share one piece of advice or a tip that you had been given that just changed your world, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Keith Cunningham because he talks about some entrepreneurs, and I was totally this, who are overly optimistic. How that showed up for me was I was all about the law of attraction back in the day, like 13 years ago when I was starting my business. And I was like, oh, I got this. I'm just going to think positively. I have the vision of exactly what I want to create and all of this stuff. I was way overly optimistic and wasn't actually doing the things that needed to be done to get the result that I'm wanting, that I'm having in my vision and wanting to attract into my life. So that was huge for me, is recognizing, that's one piece of the puzzle, but I had kind of thrown out the rest.
I love it because that is so true. But you need both sides. Exactly. And it's such a balance of, okay, like where is that balance? And I think it's constantly fluctuating too. So it is for sure. But I had just kind of not even paid attention to the other side. And I was like, oh, I'm just doing the inner work. I've got my stuff all, my vibration aligned and frequency. I mean, come on, like there's some real world stuff too, which I had to learn the hard way, but now I know. You're like, well, that part isn't as fun.
Well, and it's so funny that you say that. It actually is so fun to me. I just had all this resistance and reservations about, I didn't want to become that like salesy, slick, gross person online. And I had such a talk about separating myself. I'm like, I don't want to be that. So I held myself from doing any marketing and sales, which, hello, that's how you run a business. Or cash flow is the lifeblood. So that I was doing that. And what I found over the years as I've studied marketing and sales is that I actually freaking love it. Now I teach it so much because I enjoy it.
That's awesome. And it's such a cool thing that originally you didn't love it, because then that means you can relate. Yeah, you can relate so well though to other women who feel that nervousness about it. Whereas me, it was very easy for me to just jump in and be like, oh, I like people and I can, talk with them. Obviously, I never sold anyone something I didn't believe in, because that's a huge part for me. If I believe it's going to be good for you, then it's so easy for me to show you why. And I want to show you why because I want to help. But that just came naturally for me. So I can see how for others that could be very uncomfortable and like, I don't know what to do. So you're an awesome teacher in that regard, because you can help them out of that. Whereas for me, I'm like, I don't know, you just put it on and go.
Yeah, I say all the time, I'm like, I get that because I've been there, or I've done that, or I, have been where you are. And let me future pace you a little bit so that we can talk about, what the possibilities are.
Well, Mindie, it was lovely just to hear your thoughts and be able to package you up in a beautiful few minutes to share with the women of the league, because I know that they will enjoy getting to know you, and hopefully we can create a spot in these to where people can connect and find out about you and not have to wonder like, hey, who is this girl? It's like, oh, it's Mindie, go watch our video. So awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And just as a side note, you creating this thing is such a beautiful thing to watch, even as you're growing, as you're developing, and then how that shows up in the league. It's been an absolute delight to be a part of it. So I'm super grateful.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Like, it's nice to hear that. And I do definitely believe it's helping me grow a lot and like push into things that I wouldn't normally do. Social media is not my thing. And like, these are obviously not my thing. And I'm like, oh man, I need some work, but it's good. It's like, how else do you grow, right? So thank you for that, Mindie. All right. I love and appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.